Robert Deatherage served in the U.S. Navy during World War II. He saw action in the Pacific aboard the USS Intrepid. The USS Intrepid was awarded 5 battle stars for action in World War II. What is your name?
My name is Robert Allen Deatherage Sr.
And where are you from?
Englewood, Tennessee. Let's see now. Chalk Hills on that side. Onion Hills on that side. And Shooting Street on the south side. And local bootlegger is on the north side.
And did you go to school in Englewood?
Oh yes, all the grades up through high school.
And then you graduated.
Yes.
And how did you get into the military?
Well, they got to where they had to draft you. They were getting so many people that volunteered that they couldn't hire them all. And I was drafted on in January 1943, and I went to Fort Oglethorpe, Georgia, and they gave me my physical. Now in the Navy, you had to be perfect, or else you went to the Army. And I tell you, I wasn't about to dig any foxholes. So I liked the Navy, and we just went all over the Pacific Ocean.
So you got drafted into the Navy.
Yeah.
You went to Fort Oglethorpe.
Yeah.
Where did you go after Fort Oglethorpe?
Oh, let's see. I went to Bainbridge, Maryland for boot camp. And then after that, they sent me to Memphis, where that airstrip is, where they trained the pilots. They were those old World War I planes that they used to get.
And what were they training you for? What was your rate going to be?
Oh, I was in the medical department.
Medical.
Mm-hmm. And then they sent us to Norfolk, Virginia, and that's where I picked up the carrier. It was an Essex class carrier, and they built 20 of them, and none of them was ever sunk. All the old ones, except 2, were sunk. And we took the shakedown cruise, and that's where they just make the ship do it, try to get it to roll over and go down, and does another thing, and to make it see if there's any flaws in the building, but there wasn't any. So we went to the Panama Canal to get to on the other side of that side, and And we was going through the canal just before we got through it. We the prow, the front end, just hit the bank.
Okay.
And it knocked a big hole in the front end. And before we left, we had to pour concrete down in there to keep it from leaking. So anyway, we got out, and on our way to Hunter's Point, that was in San Francisco, and that was our home port.
Okay.
And we stayed there. Well, we had to fix that. The front end. And as soon as we did that, we took off for Pearl Harbor. And we stayed there a few days. And then we went out in the Pacific. And, you know, a lot of that is kind of vague to me. You know, after you get 91, why, there's just a lot of things wrong with me. I've already told you too, but I'm a...
Well, when you went from San Francisco to Hawaii, what was the ship like? What you remember going from San Francisco to Hawaii?
Well,
on your vaguely. Did you kind of know that you're heading to war?
Oh yeah, we all knew, yeah.
And what was everyone's? What was the thoughts of that?
Well, now they assigned me to the flight deck when the planes were taking off and landing. And you know, that was about as bad as being in combat. For instance, it'd be a plane come in and to land, and then when it hit, the bomb fell out. He couldn't get rid of the bomb because there's something wrong with the mechanism. And well, I saw it, of course. And when it got close to me, my face turned white. And but I was lucky. He just scooted on down till it slid off into the ocean. And then, at the same time, that there was what's those snakes that crawl back and forth in the desert?
Sidewinder?
Yeah, sidewinder. I can't ever remember that. And anyway, this plane came in, and he had two sidewinders, one on each wing. And, oh man, I'm telling you, he just barely missed it. And if you come a little closer, he took my head with him. But anyway, I got by that. And the next thing, an F-6F fighter plane, when it landed, I could see that he was in trouble. He couldn't control his plane. And so I got behind one of these big 5-inch
Guns?
gun tubs, and he kept on coming, and he struck the gun tub in front. But I mean, there's always something odd happens to me, and it tore the engine off, and it kept scooting around there where I was. And what I'm telling you, I was shaking because I just knew it was going to catch on fire and blow up, but it didn't. I just can't. I never got a scratch in 2 years of combat.
Wow.
None.
Now, when you left Pearl Harbor and you headed in the Pacific, did you knew that there was going to be combat?
Oh yes, of course. Yeah, we knew it. We bombed every place that we could get to that belonged to the Japanese.
Did y'all ever have kamikaze planes?
Oh yeah.
And
absolutely.
Tell me what that was like.
Well, let's see. I remember one vividly, and when he hit, and it went. Of course, it went through the flight deck now, and crashed in the hangar deck because it was had that much armor plate. And well, there was people around it that was wounded and maybe killed, and I was close. I don't know how it didn't hurt me, but I was very close to it.
Did you lose any of your buddies, your friends?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
And after the kamikaze hits, I mean, how damaged is your ship? Can you proceed, or do you have to get repaired?
Yeah, well, that I'd say we got repaired somewhere out there.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't a torpedo hit yours?
Oh yeah.
Tell us about that.
That was one thing that the Japs made right. Well, there was two things. The other one was a small machine gun. There was a handle on it that you could stand up and just spray everything. This Marine, he brought one home in his handbag, and he took it down to his grandmother. And when I worked the railroad, I stayed with him, and I had a card up there where it was. And I learned how to just mess with it, and I knew all about it.
And tell us about the torpedo.
Oh, yeah. They built the best torpedoes that anybody ever built. And the tanks, they weren't worth 2 cents. And a lot of this stuff, it wasn't good. But that machine gun and those torpedoes, I just couldn't understand how they built such a thing. And anyway, on my 20th birthday, it was so dark I couldn't see my hand in front of me. And that plane, it almost missed us, but he just barely caught us. And of course, you know, those big carriers, wasn't nothing, couldn't shake them hardly. You could be out in a typhoon and you wouldn't even notice it. Well, those destroyers and everything else, they were they were sitting ducks, and we didn't, and the big carriers didn't even notice it. I was really amazed at that. But
Now, did you stay out in combat operations until the war was over? Or?
Well, sometime we had to go to San Francisco to get repaired.
Okay.
That was our home port. And, well, I'll tell you, my brother, he got in a long time before I did. He was 34 years old. And he wrote and told me he was going to Saipan. And we were damaged severely, and they ordered us to pick up 600 wounded people. And I just hope.
Now, when you say 600 wounded, are you talking about soldiers?
Oh no.
Or civilians?
They were Navy.
Oh, sailors.
Yeah.
Okay.
And but he wasn't there though. He told me one story about that. Let me tell this one. And he was on machine gun guard one night. And the Japs, they come at him, and he let go of his machine gun, and he fired and fired and fired. And he and his captain the next morning, they counted 25 bikers. He killed them all. And anyway, when we got those people aboard, we just took off to Pearl Harbor so we could get rid of them. Boy, was I glad to get rid of them.
Now, were you still in medical?
Huh?
Were you doing medical on the ship?
Oh yeah.
So were you helping those 600? Were they in?
Yeah, heck, we had to get a whole bunch of people out of the crew to help out. The worst man I saw that was really hurt, he had two, I think it was 50 caliber machine gun. Oh, young boy. I felt sorry for him. But he stayed alive as long as we had him. And I'm sure they had to send him home when he got well.
After you dropped those 600 off, did you head back out to the Pacific and back to war?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we did. I was talking to this old gentleman that was full-time sailor, Navy, and we stopped at Pango, and I was talking to him. He said, well, I was here 10 years before, and they call it Pago. Now they changed it back to Pago. You know, there's a lot of islands I can't even remember their names that we went on. You know, they didn't allow us. They wouldn't let us.
Did you ever cross the equator?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Oh, God.
Did they do a ceremony?
No, you can say that again. I mean, you know, I was the enlisted men, these guys that been across, they wouldn't mess with us. They were after the officers. And the first of it, there's a line of two about 40 or 50 yards longer. And this old gentleman, I guess he was 45 or 50 years old. I believe he was a commander, pretty high rank. And anyway, when it come time for him to run through that, I mean, they'd be beating him all the way up to when he got to the end. And I felt sorry for the old the old gentleman. And I say he felt sorry for himself. And anyway, we had, let's see now, what all did they have? Oh yeah, they had these two old officers. They were, was he trying to put on their wife's corset or it was either that or shoot.
And that's when you cross the equator?
Oh yeah.
That's what you're referring to?
Yeah.
To become a shellback?
Huh?
To become a shellback?
Oh yeah. And oh there's a lot of nasty cursing between those guys, those officers. That was that was doing all that. That's, what in the heck was it they were, anyway, it may have not been they were trying to get on the courses, but something else. And, let's see now. And they all, they had, they were singing, and we just bombed truck. There's a big Japanese naval base, and these singers, I can't repeat it. And they just kept on, kept on, kept on.
So you're at war, and a lot of combat operations, but you guys are still having a good time on the ship, especially when you cross the equator.
Well, that was just one day.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this officer that was next to me, he was in there. He was a doctor, and this man on his shoulder come up with a double handful of motor oil. Now it was clean, of course. Boy, he just went up there and of course there wasn't nothing he could do except grin. And well, I stayed on when I was on board ship. I stayed on went out to sea, and why? I stayed up on the flight deck for the planes were taking off and landing. And then, I'm telling you, I mean, sometimes it just got wild, those planes. They can come in, then go over the side, right in front of me.
They would just try to land, but
Yeah,
go over the side.
yeah,
Did it kill the pilots?
I don't think so.
No.
I don't believe so now. Oh. You know, we had 5 people be killed in the medical department. They put me down in where we lived, and 4 of these 19-year-old boys went up and took our place, including an officer who had just boarded. He just came on board about 5 days earlier, and they were killed. And I can't if I seen them coming, I would recognize them, all four. And I don't remember the officer, just vaguely. And well, we had their in there too. We had the there was two men, that held up the slide where they had to take them aboard and then slide them off into the water. And
So they were buried at sea.
yeah, and put them in 30,000 feet of water. Of course, we were moving on, so they weren't buried side by side. And well, so and then they sent me back up to the hospital. I'm telling you, that was, I didn't like it there. It was, I mean, that was a lot of, that was a lot. You had to do a lot, and maybe stay there the whole day. And
So I know that was very traumatic. Was this near the end of the war, or was the war wrapping up?
oh, it was from the time I'm on to the time I left. Well, when well, they decided to send me, when the war was, it wasn't over, but it was almost over. Why, they sent me to, there was a big pier out in Lake Michigan there in
Chicago?
Chicago.
Great.
Shoot, all you had to do was walk around, walk across the street, and you were in,
Was it Great Lakes?
yeah, downtown Chicago.
Okay.
And
So what was your job there at that base in Chicago?
Didn't have a job. I don't know why they sent us there. And after that, they sent us to Great Lakes. And instead of going back to Chicago, it was between Chicago and Milwaukee. I decided to go to Milwaukee and see what it was like. And those were the nicest people. You couldn't believe it.
Were you in your uniform when you went to Milwaukee?
Yes, yeah. I always wore my uniform.
So they were proud of you.
And they treated us the best. The old man would loan us his car, and And his daughter, that was the only place I went.
Mm-hmm. So when you were at that age, in your 20s,
Uh-huh.
how did you feel being a veteran of World War II?
In my 20s, well, I remember an awful lot of it. Not like now, but I remember quite a bit.
And then how did you come back to Tennessee?
Oh yes, I came back to Inglewood, and I lived there for 30 years until I got married.
And was your family happy to see you when you got back home?
Oh yeah. Now on my father's side, hey, what was that? You know, I gave you a copy of that. What was?
It was the equator.
Huh?
It was the where you went over the equator, wasn't it?
No. It was. Well, whatever you call. Well, anyway. And anyway.
So your family was happy to see you,
Oh yeah.
and what? And you said you had a brother that also served,
Yeah.
and was he home then too?
Yeah, he got out before I did because he'd been there for several years. And yeah, I met him halfway between the house and town. And we just both went back to the house.
And what's it like today? You're 91. You got your USS Intrepid hat on,
Uh-huh.
and I'm sure people see you out in the community.
Yeah.
Do they thank you?
Oh yeah. Some do.
And how does that make you feel? You like it?
Good. And I thank them. Well, let's see.
Is there any more that you want to tell us while you're on being videoed?
On what?
Is there any more that you want to tell us today? Any other stories or?
Well, I'd like to tell you that about this page of about our family. And anyway, now then, our name was Death, D-E-H-E-H, Death. And then we moved up to a place called Flanders, and it was in Austria. And there was a French family that came over from France and settled in among us. Well, you know how it is. One of our men married one of their girls, or one of our girls married one of their men. We never did find out about that. And they got married, and their name was E-A-R-G-E. That don't sound like a name either. Their death sure don't. And they decided to put them together. And that made it a great name, those two.
Deatherage.
Yeah, Deatherage.
Wow.
And then my grandfather on my mother's side, he was a Confederate, and his twin brother went to the Union. And you know, the Union usually kept Bill of Records, but they didn't know my grandfather, the Confederates did. And he got killed, and they never did find out, really. And in one story, they had him drowning crossing the Mississippi River on horseback. And anyway,
Well, we thank you for this interview today. Is there anything you want to add at the very end? That we're proud of you.
thank you.
We're proud that you served.